Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Clause YouTube channel Strategic Frontlines. Today we have with us Lieutenant General Dr. A.P. Singh, AVSM, PVSM retired. He was a former commandant of Army Air Defense College. Major General RPS Bhadauria, VSM retired. He is Additional Director General of Clause, and both are strategic analysts. I welcome General Bhadauria and General Singh to this podcast. Today, we will discuss India's air defense system, and especially Army's air defense system. After the success of the AD system in Post-Sindoor, this has become a buzzword, and special attention is being paid to a country's AD capabilities. Prime Minister Modi also has spoken about the Sudarshan Chakra, which is very symbolic in the Independence Day speech. And yesterday, DRDO also successfully conducted the maiden flight test of integrated air defense weapon systems. I'll show you in the slide. This is significant because this is an indigenous attempt to have a multi-layered air defense system, and it comprises of three parts, that is quick reaction surface-to-air missiles, advanced very short air defense systems, and a high-powered laser beam direct energy weapons. And the target, if you see, there were two targets, two high-speed fixed-wing UAVs and a multi-copter drone, which were simultaneously engaged and destroyed. We have also seen during the Sindoor, if we see the next slide, the AD system used were, as shown in the slide, there were Netra, then there was S-400, Akash missiles, and if we go to the next one, so we can see how the AD system had worked that time. So with this background, I would first like to ask General Singh your initial remarks about India's AD system and what areas will they be covering, and how is Army going about in developing its air defense systems? Your views, please.
The air defense anywhere in the world, whether it is India or whether it is USA, Russia, Ukraine, all over the world, the air defense consists of two parts. A ground-based air defense, in the sense you fire from the ground using your guns and missiles, and also take on the enemy in the air through your fighter aircraft and that kind of this. So these are the two basic elements through which you fight the air defense battle. And incidentally, find them that both of them for the army, for this country, Air Force got raised in 1932, if you recollect. They're still part of the British Air Force. And ground-based air defense, that is Army Air Defense, was raised in 1940. So both of them have moved very, very parallel to each other. And they have been participating in all operations right from, say, I'll say from Second World War. We had a very big contribution till Sindoor. Sindoor also, you found one side you had those Rafale and Su-30 and that kind of aircraft. Other side we had that ground-based air defense, starting from guns till all kinds of missiles that you flashed on the slide. So this is the basic of air defense anywhere in the world.
Would you like to tell us how the Army is moving ahead with its air defense system before I move on to General Bhadauria?
Army air defense is an ongoing process, as I mentioned to you. Like what we have today on the ground, on the land, are some of the very primitive systems, like we get L-70 guns that you must have heard in the Sindoor. They are firing all over, the drones coming on them and all that. They are with us since 1961-62. So almost 80 plus years they are with us. Similarly, there are Zoo guns, then Shilka. So all these weapon systems have been there, but most of them are obsolete. More than that, the threat itself has changed now. The threat when they were developed that particular time, the threat was different. Today, the threat is all different. So all that the slide that you showed about the QRSAM, you showed about the VSHORAD, lasers. These are the kind of weapon systems which are required to fight the battle of 2025. And the country is preparing to induct them into the armed forces.
Okay. General Bhadauria, coming to you, I would like you to give your initial remarks. And then, as a former land forces formation commander, what are your views on the control of air littorals and things like that? General Bhadauria, you're muted.
Okay, firstly, thank you so much, ma'am, for giving this opportunity. Let me begin by saying what Air Force feels. And our audience would have seen a lot of podcasts and articles coming out that it is the Air Force which is going to fight the air war. And in that, they say that offensive air operations and the AD operations that they carry out are the twin inseparable part of the modern air warfare. So therefore, you would notice or you would hear that in some quarters there is a talk of AD being controlled by the Air Force and integrated uh, more so because of the kind of threats that we are now seeing and probably we are going to see in future. However, I am of the view that controlling the air littoral by the land forces have become a key battle imperative. Now, why do I say that? Because of the experience that we saw in Op-Sindoor. Op-Sindoor was a very short operation, right? We should not take out too many lessons as far as the land warfare is concerned. However, we saw that the Indian Army's AD played a very critical role in neutralizing Pakistan's retaliatory air offensive. Our legacy equipment, which included L-70, 23 Shilka guns, and Akash and Pechora, the modern AD systems, they were all integrated beautifully by Akashteer, which is a command control system, and we did strike at the enemy's whatever was coming to us and neutralize a lot of threats which otherwise would have caused probably havoc on our ground forces and also our infrastructure. So what I wish to say is, in as far as the land forces are concerned, they have two areas of interest. One is the area in front of them. If we are defending something for a couple of kilometers, we wish to know what is happening in that area as far as the enemy is concerned and neutralize any threat that is coming to us. Now, with the drones coming, and particularly with drones coming, and this we have seen in the Russia Ukraine war, how the drones have been used uh, extensively. So, therefore, it's not just the area in front of us, but also the area above us. If I am the land forces commander, commanding a division or a corps, the area above me is also equally important because I would be vulnerable to the enemy fire which comes via the drones and other systems. So, therefore, for me, the area in front and area above is also very important. And I should be able to neutralize the threat that is coming to me from the area above. Now, these are also called as kill zones. So, therefore, the Indian Army, particularly, has a lot of stakes in the air littoral. Why I say this is because ours is the only army which is deployed 24 by 7 on the LAC. We are actually present in the tactical battle area all the time, whether it is LAC or LOC, everywhere. So, therefore, we are the first ones to be in contact with the enemy, and the most of the contact is through the land forces. And also, we have our sensors and the shooters deployed in the TBA and in a very faster response time we can neutralize the threat which is coming from the enemy. So therefore, it becomes important that we take care of the threat that comes on the land forces up to a particular height. I won't say the complete this thing should be given to the army, but up to a particular height, say about 1,500 meters. General AP Singh would be able to elaborate much more on this. Should be left to the Indian Army, so that our operational vulnerability of the ground forces, when they are going in for offensive or even when they are deployed in a defensive role, is taken care of. So with that, I'll stop, because and let me also add that it has now become a close quarter battle. I am from infantry. The close quarter battle is when I'm very close to the enemy and we are fighting bayonets and using a whole lot of those other things. So it's in contact with the enemy. Now here, the contact is through the drones is also directly there. So the drones have actually become part of the close combat battle, and that threat needs to be taken care of. So I'll stop here and wait for General AP Singh's further remarks.
Let me put it by in a little different way. They say it's not that history repeats itself, and only thing we don't know about this in the world today is the history that we have not read. No, otherwise everything is available. As I mentioned to you, then 1932 Air Force got raised, Indian Air Force, and that time the British made a statement that they had the bombers, and bombers will take care of all kinds of threat from there on the ground. Now, they are the battle winning factors. But look at how the Germans, this is. Suddenly they started developing fighters and all that kind. And if you refresh your memory to the Battle of Britain, Britain was almost going to lose the battle. And that's the time Churchill decided that no, Air Force cannot handle the air defense. In a very simple way, I'm mentioning to you. So, 1939, British made a Union War book, a Union war book. They divided the responsibility very clearly. As far as that taking the enemy in the air is concerned, it will be the Air Force, the fighters and this. Taking the enemy in the ground, from ground, will be with the army. So this is what was developed in 1939. And look at it, 1940, you started raising those ACAC regiments, that ground-based air defense regiment. And within 3 years, they had almost 33 odd regiments. Today we are almost around the same. I may just give an example to you. And thereafter, these ground-based regiments, the coastal regiment, they started moving. They got deployed in Hong Kong. They got deployed in Malaysia, Singapore, Burma, your own East, all this. And this is what it was a very, very clear distinction. And that distinction between the role which Army should play and what Air Force should play was very clear and has continued in 1947-48 battle. It has continued in 1965, 1971. I'll say till somewhere around 1989-90, there was absolutely very clear that ground-based air defense is care of the Indian Army. You will take care of all the VVPs. To the extent in the airfield itself, the that low-level threat was being handled by the Indian Army. It's being handled today also. So that was it. But somewhere around in 1990-91, the tweaking started. Meaning the Air Force is overall responsible for the Air Force. And thereafter, I'll say some sort of a khichdi has started. Let me be very frank to you. All kinds of weapon systems are coming to everybody. So that is how now General Bhadauria says after Operation Sindoor, the Air Force wants to control the complete battle. You cannot control. Look at Ukraine today. It's a very, very clear division of responsibility. Let me now take you towards Pakistan then. Pakistan basically is virtually a strong air defense based concept of survival they have. They have always been very strong on air defense because they have a limited depth which Bhadauria will reinforce. So they always have paid attention to a strong air defense. What they did, man, 1976, they created a Army Air Defense. We created in 1993. They have an Air Defense Command, which exclusively takes care of complete TBA. If you refresh SQ9, which is fired on
Yes, what you're saying is quite right. I'll just,
SQ9, Army is
yeah,
controlling.
yes, I'll just tell here a little bit, just inject that as far as Sindoor was concerned, we know that they were dependent on the Chinese HQ9s, which was about 300 kilometers range, and we were able to successfully attack those. But there are also views that now they are going for the higher HQ19 system, which has a range of 3,000 kilometers.
Yeah,
So you can also comment on that also.
So today, let me now talk about 2025. You got two kinds of threat. What Gen Bhadauria mentioned about low-level threats coming from drones, coming from ballistic missiles, threat coming from cruise missiles. No, and all that. I mean, when I say drones, those combat drones, then all kinds of drones that they say. So there is a threat envelope. What he mentioned, the word I picked up is air literal. Air literal, basically the space between where the infantry soldier fights the battle and a good fighter aircraft. You know, a good fighter aircraft operates, if you see all this, at about 9 to 10 kilometers. That's the height, 9 to 10 kilometers. Our say whether we or the Pakistanis, they all have been operating their fighters. That air-to-air battle starts from 10 to 12 kilometers. And moment you start going up, your oxygen comes down, your verification starts. So generally they maintain that. Today, now you see with the satellites coming, with hypersonics coming, with the ballistic missiles itself, like the way you fired BrahMos, air-based BrahMos and all that, and then Pakistan also has now Abdali and all that you heard in the paper, and they are now creating that. So there'll be two kinds of battle. There will be a battle in the air littoral, where Bhadauria said where land elements are moving, you have to create a bubble around them with all that air defense. And there is a battle in that near space and outer space. I'll not get into that higher space of satellites and all that. Now, today, all over the world, that's what I'm trying to mention to you. Look at China, look at Russia. Russia is fighting. China says to the Air Force, if you look at the organization in the Tibet region, the land-based air defense systems will take care of your
Yes.
threat. As far as the mandate given to the PLA Air Force is that ensure that you deny the airspace to them. So that's why they're putting all those big radars there so that they pick you up and thereafter threaten with all the kinds of weapon systems. Pakistan now is almost reorganized itself like that. As I mentioned to you, we had a AD command which handled the complete TBA right from 1976. I got commissioned in 1981. I see from that time, the Pakistan has ensured that in the TBA, all weapon systems, today the division up to 150 kilometers range are all with the army. Beyond that, Pakistani Air Force has got other weapon systems. So the coordination takes place at that level. Russia is doing that. Russia, yes, aerospace power. If you Google and find the same thing is happening there. So the trying to control the all kinds of aerial battle in the TBA, it will be a bugger's murder. I mean, as I mentioned to you, your ground-based air defense has fought battles for last 80 years in a particular format. They have, let me proudly tell you two things. Firstly, Indian ground-based air defense systems in the last 80 years, they have never had a case of a fratricide ever. In all these operations, I can recount right from 1948 till today. Never, not one. One instance was there in 1965 when the our own aircraft came, but they recognized it and thereafter stopped firing. But look at the fratricide of either other countries. US is full of fratricide, I'll say. Vietnam, the amount of fratricide, if you just Google, you find this thing. The Gulf War, the Patriot, the amount of fratricide is firing on your own, this thing. Israel, their battle of 1967 and 73, the amount of fratricide they have experienced, Ajab, the Middle is full of it. We are the only ones, because why? General Bhadauria said, our drills, procedures, fire order, that kind which the system which fires is, I say, professionally of a very high order. So if you want to now tweak that and bring everybody just to control, and in any case, you cannot control, ma'am. Today, we are in 2025. You see the battle which is taking place in Ukraine, that Palantir or some, that Delta
No,
system.
I'll show you that. I've got that. I'll show you what
The guy,
has been.
yeah. So today, it's a totally a decentralized battle. This is what I'm trying to say. You have to feed information. Okay.
See, if you want to see what the Russia and Ukraine, what they are using it as a
Yeah.
AD system, so you can see that Russia has got the Kursk 4, which is used to jam the radars and disrupt
Electronic
the
warfare. It's a
system.
electronic warfare.
Yes, there is layer 3. All these things are there. And apart from S-400, what they have got for the missiles. And Ukraine, if you can see, you have got counter drone AD systems. They've got the Starlink terminals for the command and control. And these are the things what I just wanted to show you.
So I'm
You were
reinforcing
talking
exactly
about
this,
that. Yes.
that today, even Russia also, those strategic assets, that airfields, that that economic installation, S-400 is getting deployed. And S-400, of course, it has to be layered. This is what I'm trying to
Yes.
say. Today,
Yes.
that old ways of driving battle of fighting AD is gone. Today, we have just
Yes.
to have two types of battles. Strategic air defense, which I mentioned to you, near space, that fighting hypersonic, dealing with the hypersonic, dealing with the sixth generation fighter aircraft, fifth generation fighter aircraft, and that missiles, ICBMs on a higher platform. So we have to cut off that. And in that air literal, what we talked about, the army or the ground forces have to control. Today, the BSF is using now air defense systems on the border. You have civil aviation flying, artillery, this all these weapon systems which are flying. So army, I'm not saying army AD, the Indian army that General Bhadauria, what you mentioned about, they are used to only that you have to tweak your systems in a way that the battle moves smoothly.
Yes.
This is what we are trying to put across to you.
Absolutely correct, because with technology progressing so much, there is RMA taking place after every few years. You find that the revolution in military affairs is taking place, and today a time has come where the battles are more multi-domain, and therefore the systems have to be more integrated. That's
Integrate.
yes,
So,
and it has to be multi-layered.
so
Those are the
this is
two.
what we are saying. There should be an integrated air defense system
Yes,
taking care of strategic assets, like strategic asset of Delhi, strategic asset, all that thing, where you have a S-400, and then it is there are other systems to some leaker, some aircraft, which for some reason is not able to handle it. They should take care.
yes,
But you cannot deploy the S-400 all over the border. No, even the
yes,
US has not been able to do it. Even the US, which is an expeditionary force, man, it's an expeditionary force. It doesn't have a land threat. But
yes,
when it comes to Iraq, when it comes to Afghanistan, when it goes to all these countries and all that, the army controls the air defense. Army controls the air defense. This is what
yes,
they say in US. So
yes.
what I'm trying to say right now, a policy has to be refreshed. We cannot have that policy of Union War Book of 1939, which I mentioned to
Yes.
you in somewhere around 91, 92. You tweaked it, and this thing. The world has changed in 2025 today. You have to have battle systems which give you instant this thing, like you are mentioning about that command and control system with Silicon Valley boys, like all this Palantir, Alex Karp, and all that. They have a Delta system. It's such a beautiful system that anybody with a smartphone can link to it and pass some information. You must have heard about that artillery Uber, they call it, where all artillery, wherever they are, the same. So it cannot be a layer structured, it cannot be a hierarchical system today. The US itself, like you must have heard, Trump mentioned about we'll have a golden dome or something.
Golden Dome system, yes.
Because today's technology available, you have that LEO satellites available. We have to have the radars of 2026. You have to have SAR radars that call it quantum radars. Chinese are already big into all this. So today the technology is all available all around. You have to have a very clear policy and try and integrate and fight the battle tomorrow. This is what my take.
Yes, I agree with you. And even if we see the Chinese system, they have got their HQ series, whether it is 9, 22, 19. And they, what you rightly pointed out, they basically try to cover the region like Beijing, Shanghai, Tibet, South China Sea, Taiwan Strait. They are all trying to do that. But the thing is, they have also got an advanced system, which they are calling as satellite hunters. So that also they are trying basically to neutralize from the satellite.
The way electronic warfare, the way the jammers, the way disruption is taking place today, like these satellites that low orbit, that Earth orbit satellites, they almost, somebody mentioned even we have about some 2-digit, some 30, 40 satellites floating around. That Elon Musk gave almost about 4,000 satellites to Ukraine. So these LEO satellites are all the time the same. So today, those days are gone. The moment you are static somewhere, and if you don't move within, say, time frame of say 5, 10, 15 minutes, you will be spotted and something will come on you. This is what has happened in Ukraine. So it's a very, very different kind of battle. Communication, you cannot rely on that old system of communication. The communications have to be, satellite will become the primary means of communication, followed by the SDR and all that kind of thing. So old, I'll say, let me take the courage of telling you that that Akashteer, which we launched about, it happened during when I was the Director General in 2020-21. It was lingering for a very long time from this thing. It cannot play the battle of tomorrow because it is based on the old systems. It has got a story. Similarly, the AFNet, ISCCS, they are based on the old system where we had a laptop, you had a computer, you connected to it, and the data is coming up. Now it is a different kind, decentralized. What you only mentioned about that all domain, multi-domain operations. So the information will come very fast to you, and you have to empower that man, that VSHORAD fellow or this is that he gets the picture, and with all this artificial intelligence coming in now, the guy will know which type of target is coming, whether it's relevant to you, not relevant to you. This is what is happening in Ukraine. Moment say Russia fires that kind of say 100 drones, 40 ballistic missiles towards some target, they know which all systems will pick up when and all that. So we have to graduate into that kind of environment now, post-Sindoor. I mean, by the way, I saw your flyer that Sindoor doesn't have Akashteer doesn't have AI. I told you, Akashteer is based on a very old system of, it just flows the information now. It's a digital information flow, which was not happening for last 20 years. But it has now to move into the next stage.
Absolutely. General Bhadauria, I would like to get you in here, considering that traditional methods are getting revolutionized, especially in the tech battle area. Major changes are happening due to the unmanned systems coming up. So what role unmanned systems will play in different phases of operation? If you can just highlight those. As also any other comment you would like to make.
Right. Let me remain on the initial point that I had made, that controlling the air, littoral by the land forces is a battle imperative. Now, why do I say this? Because today's tactical battle areas looks very, very different. And it looks so different, even I cannot recognize it, primarily because of the drones. The way the drones have been inducted and they are being used for all kinds of purposes, demonstrated in Russia-Ukraine war, demonstrated also in the brief encounter that Israel had, and also against Hamas that they are using. and our own Operation Sindoor. And for this reason, the Indian Army has also carried out some organizational changes. They have reorganized the infantry battalion, brought in drones over there. They have reorganized the artillery regiments. They have brought in drones over there. Rudra Brigade, you would have heard. So drones have actually changed the TBA. Now, how is the threat looking today? In case I can very briefly describe for your audience who are not very conversant with the tactical battle area. Firstly, we would have conditions created for our friendly drones to carry out their functions. Now, what are the functions these drones would carry out? They would carry out surveillance in the area in front of us. They would carry out recce. They would let us know that here is a enemy artillery battery deployed or some other element deployed that needs to be taken care of. The target acquisition. So our drones would carry out target acquisition. So for that, we will have to ensure that these drones can fly unhindered, uninterrupted in the tactical battle area on the enemy side. Then we would, in case I can call it as drone softening. So what happens is when say troops are attacking, infantry is attacking, before that, just before the attack is actually launched, there is huge artillery fire brought on the objective so that the target is softened. The enemy goes inside the bunkers, a lot of them are destroyed, and it becomes easier for the enemy, for the infantry to go and capture. So therefore, drones would be used for softening of the target. So therefore, they would carry out firing on those bunkers, and here it would be pinpointed firing. Whereas in the artillery, that is an area weapon. So therefore, some shells may fall on the bunker, some may not fall. But here, the drones would be able to carry out pinpoint firing and destroy the bunkers. So the softening would be far more effective. Then they would support the ground troops the way the other elements support, like the tanks would support the ground forces, the artillery which supports the ground forces. So the drones would also be supporting the ground forces in achieving their objectives. Then they could be used like whenever the attack feature, particularly on the western borders, when we expect a enemy counter attack to be coming on onto us, that is by way of use of infantry or tanks. So now the drones, the swarm drones, could be used to destroy that counter attack force. So that would be another use of the drones, and of course for reorganization, resupply, carrying out casualty evacuation and things like that. So this is the way the drones are going to be used in the TBA. Now, in case this is the density of the drones which are going to be there, I need to ensure that my threat is taken care of. So I need some weapons, I need equipment which can destroy the enemy drones and deny them from carrying out the functions which I had just described in case we are in defense, right? In case we are attacking, then we would deny enemy use of drones for their various technical tasks, right? So this is what I was wanting to describe, and let me just highlight one innovation which came across that how in the TBA the ADs are innovating, right? So I came across a example where a SP twin 35 auto cannon equipment system, which the Germans had discarded, being obsolete in 2010, was supplied to the Ukrainian troops, and they modified it and they used it very effectively against the Russian drones, which are basically Shahid kamikaze drones, which Iran had supplied to them. So this is the way their TBA was made safer for their own troops to operate.
Can I just reinforce what
Yeah,
he is?
I'll bring this General Singh. You can comment on what General Bhadauria has told about the TBAs
It's
and
a
all.
very simple.
There's also the Rudra Brigade, which is also coming up. That has been
Yeah,
discussed
yeah.
that it will be coming up, and also you can show some light on the BMD system also. because we
Yeah.
also have a ballistic missile defense system, which is a two-layered system, which is a Prithvi air defense system, which is for high altitudes, and the advanced AD, that is the air defense system for the lower ones. So all these two, three things you can comment on.
Firstly, on the drone, I mean, you look at that Russia-Ukraine war. Every day, Russia is firing about 100 plus 200, 300 drones on one target, and along with that, say 50, 60 of these ballistic missiles. No, that's this. Ukraine is also doing the same thing. Almost, I mean, every day, month, more than thousands of drones are being manufactured. And the targets, if Ukraine wants to target all those factories where the drones are coming out. Today, Russia has almost capacity or capability to manufacture about 10 to 12,000 drones. Same thing is decisive. So, unlike the way General Bhadauria described, drones are virtually taking care of every kind of the threat that use this thing. So, as far as Pakistan is concerned, since we look at in this Sindoor, in those 3 days, 7th, 8th, 9th, these drones, although they were of not a very great quality, group 1, group 2 that you call them, but they came in decent numbers. You know, there's some 30, 40 in one area, then they shifted to this thing. Pakistan today is trying to become a drone, say, very strong in drone, because that's a cheap technology, can move very fast. Today, because of civil military fusion, the whether it's Chinese drone, whether it's Turkish drone, whether in fact you can make your drones yourself, do it yourself. Drones are there. So that is the kind of battle that what he described. So for that kind of battle, tomorrow when the infantry, there has to be an air bubble created when a brigade or a dev or a uh, combat troop they are moving. They have to have the bubble around them. The bubble would consist of that air defense systems, whether it is missiles or lasers or guns or this thing. Also their own systems. And Bhadauria mentioned that when you are giving drones to infantry battalions, we are giving drones to the SF, we are giving drones to the artillery. The counter drone also has to move along with that. The counter drone will be given to whosoever can handle that this kind. So we have no choice but to get into this field of drone and this thing. And like very correctly said, it has to be handled by the local commander. The second point is about that BMD that you. BMD started, if you remember, 1983. That was the president of USA. That Star War thing he started off. There will be a star because there was threat of nuclear threat. ICBMs with Russia will launch. Those kind of things were there, but it did not take off because the technology was not available then. Let me this. We also had the BMD program that you mentioned about Prithvi and all that, but it lacked. It did not move with that kind of this. Firstly, threats were that in our case between us and Pakistan, the threat was still low key. I'll say as far as this is concerned, and technology was not available. But come 2025. Now with BrahMos that you have available, you will have other air launched, submarine launched, ground launched that can. And also, like I mentioned to you, that they say they are focused now today either on drone or those missiles that they say. So you have to have a BMD, but the concept of BMD will be different from what it was earlier. Earlier, if you look at the Prithvi say, air defense, it's got a huge radar. It's static. That is known to the enemy. He'll send a drone somewhere and take you out, just the way it's happening all around. So today it has to be based on a different format, whether it is
And do you feel that there need to be some doctrinal changes?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Because this warfare is changing, so do you think that the doctrinal changes need to
This
be
this is what
integrated?
I started off. The whole doctrine has to be revisited today in 2025. The threat in that strategic domain, where your BMD and that kind that you are talking about, it requires a dedicated kind of a force, a dedicated kind of a your 24/7 getting into a surveillance, all 24/7 you're getting your information data. So one force cannot do that counter BMD and that kind, and cannot move along with the infantry and do it. So this is what both of us are trying to say. The air littoral that we talked about, in which the threat is there, should be handled by the Indian Army through the various organs that it has, whether it is infantry, whether it is artillery, whether it is this thing, and also co-opting the other ground forces. We are forgetting the BSF, we are forgetting the other elements. And secondly, if you see again Russia, this thing, you'll have to coordinate with that other non-military this thing. Like in Ukraine and Russia, almost both sides, the number of non-uniform types of people, I'm just forgetting that word, that this thing, they are in plenty on both sides. They are almost people from all over the countries, like towards fighting with Russia and fighting with the Ukraine. How do you control those people? They all have that drones. They all have combat drones. They all have some missiles and all that. You are giving them. So that hybrid warfare that he talks about. So, and it's an open, they say. There are people in from the Russia side. People are finding from the other countries. They are just voluntarily going there. It does require. It has to be required by the land forces. The commander who is who's bad this thing that you are doing. As far as the third point was on the raising of these new brigades, yes, this is the need of the hour. Need of the hour, that you have to have a very small force moving with the old, system of that whole corps or the command gets mobilized, moves to the conk area, and gets deployed, and then move after 3-4 days. It's gone. It's not there. That decentralized ability to move from one place to other. So these brigades which are coming up, they will have elements of all kinds, from artillery, from all support arms, and they will be controlled by that brigade or the div commander that he has. So it's a very good step in the right direction, because you have to fight light and tight today. And information has to be exchanged fast. You have to react fast. Let me just see how the technology is changing. Give you a simple example. On the BMD itself, every time earlier the technology was that moment a missile you launch, ICBM, there's to get launch track after the launch. Once
Launch on warning.
Yeah.
Launch on warning.
Launch after something was called. So all this technology right from 1950, if you look at the Syria, in North Korea, South Korea, US is monitoring all the time how North Korea will react, will be able to fire on that South Korea, any number of this thing. So moment they keep track launcher, when it moves in the air, then they start tracking. But today that thing is gone. Now
today with the hypersonics coming, the time for that is very less.
Even these missiles, like Israelis are doing it. So the technology has changed. Launch before, in the sense, the moment a launcher comes out of this thing, it will be picked up by the LEO satellites today.
Yes.
And that information gets passed. And so you start tracking him before he launches. So that is how what I'm trying to come about all this is that the technology of 2025 is available. The BMDs, only you have to transit from the old to the new technology. That radar that I mentioned to you, I can't do with that old radars that we have. There's a radar technology in this, that SAR they call it. All the time the signals are bouncing from the ground. So he's just picking up, because all this is available. So this is my take. So somebody, whether it is Air Force or whether it is you create different, has to get into that domain, that kind of fighting is strategic battle, because there's so much of things that are happening around.
General Bhadauria, would you like to comment something before we take questions?
Right, just a very brief comment, ma'am. These wars which take place, and unfortunately, the Ukraine-Russia war has been on for almost more than 3 years. Now they teach us a lot of good lessons come out. So as a professional, as a military person, we are watching that all the time. So what does these wars do? Either they give us new ideas, a lot of innovations take place. So that is something of interest to us. And also, I'm sorry, also certain of our assumptions get tested, and they get reinforced, whether it is technology, whether it is weapons, and also as far as the organizational structures are concerned. So if all those who are watching the Russian forces, the way they have performed and the way they have organized themselves, we would notice that they have carried out, they are carrying on with the structure that probably we also follow, and that is the AD troops of the ground forces are very, very well integrated with the brigades and the divisions, which are
Yes.
combined all arms units. So therefore, there's an integration of the AD troops along with the ground forces, which then protects the troops and also the facilities. So that is something that we have been saying during this podcast, that that is something which must carry on. Now, this has got battle tested during Ukraine and Russia war, right? So it has reinforced our belief that this is the right structure to follow. And then what happens is that up to a particular limit, that is about 12,000 meters in case of Russia, that's what they have decided. And beyond that is then left to the Air Force and other this thing. Then what happens is that these are then integrated. So the AD troops of the ground forces, their command and control is then integrated into the national level IADS. So therefore, there's I mean, there is a very harmonious interaction between these two layers. So they're not separated, but
Yes.
their divisions are made for the effectiveness. So that is what a lesson I thought we should learn from Russia-Ukraine war. Probably see how much of that can be incorporated in our own strategy, in our own structures.
Absolutely. You rightly pointed out that we need to study the wars and see what best practices or what we need to learn from them. Now, we would like to take few questions. And Lakshay is asking, looking at the global air defense systems, what, in your opinion, is the most sophisticated and advanced air defense system in the world right now, and where do India's systems stand? Jal Singh, would you like to take it?
It's a very, very generic question that he's asking. I mean, technology wise, both Russia is very good, has always been good. They are leading the hypersonics are concerned today. They have already Kinjal and that kind. You have this thing. They have this thing. China is very, very far ahead as far as that development of say tomorrow's weapon systems are concerned. So both are leading as far as hypersonics are concerned. US is trying to catch up. I'll say for as far as that Israel is pretty good. As Israel always has been good because Israel always function into the existential threat. But the problem is Israel doesn't have that kind of threat that India faces. So we can look at Israel, this thing, China, Russia. But today the systems which are coming out, they are coming out in different domains. They're like laser, hyper microwave. Again, almost all countries are doing. If you look at counter CRAM this is system. So we cannot give there is one country whichever country can pick up the technology fastest, put the money there. That's the leader. And to my scheme of things today, China is number one. China, you see the kind of drones or kind of classic drones of all kinds, strategic drones in the sense they are all coming out, wing and all type, ability to fire. So their radars, quantum radars, they are the leader today in quantum radars. Others have not even started also. So they have demonstrated the capability of quantum radars. So if you look at the tomorrow's weapon systems, China, Russia has traditionally always been very good in air defense, right from
Russia's S-400 and now they have got the S-500s.
S-500, yeah, it's coming up. So Russians have been lit up, but Russians are stuck up because of the other issues of political and all that. But once it gets over, you'll have to look towards them little more deeply again to give you the systems. And,
there's another question by Bhishma. Okay, he says, does army also move with its own air defense systems so that they can protect themselves from enemies inside enemies territory? I mean,
I
we
think
have been
we
discussing
have
this, but if you want to add anything.
right from the army air defense systems are meant to move with the troops. They are not supposed to be sitting somewhere. They have been doing in all the battles. If you see that the battle of Khemkaran, the battle, all those battles where the armored fought, the AD elements were always part of it. They are part of it. Today also all these self-propelled systems that you flashed on the slide, Shelka, you Zoo, that Osaka, that all these weapon systems that you shown, they are supposed to move along with that army. And the army has to have its own bubble, the air bubble to get protected from these systems.
General Bhadauria, would you like to add something?
No, I agree with. I mean, this we have been following. We have mobile SAM batteries, which move along with the, particularly in plains and deserts, along with the armored formations, which go for offensive. So they have to be protected. The bridgehead that is made has to be protected. These huge tank formations which are moving, they all have to be protected. So therefore, the army has its own AD component, and General AP Singh was commanding those formations. So we have it, and they are part of our organization. They are part of our strategy and the way we operate.
The
Today,
other one is by Amitesh. Yes, you were saying something, General Singh?
no, I was just saying, today, why only AD? No system can be static and fire. This is the way you are getting monitored from there. You cannot remain secret. Sit someplace and remain this thing. So your ability to move from, even artillery moves, the infantry moves, everybody. So movement has to be the basic, I'll say, the requirement of troops today.
The other question is by Amitesh, which says that our ED system was good against Pakistanis in Sindoor. Can the same thing happen against China also?
We were lucky. You said that Sindoor, we got the drones which came. They came at a very low level. They were of that group 1, group 2 types of drones. They were not combat drones. Also, very few far away there. They came in that ranges of the weapon systems. But even in the next battle, if and when happens with Pakistan or anybody, it will be much tougher. The drones will fly at a much higher level. But today, drones, what General Bhadauria explained, got a huge combat capability. They can fire from long distances. They have that. They carry more, say, ammunition with them. So China is the leader again in drones. The China is supplying drones today. Almost more than 85 to 90% of drones in the world are being supplied by China. Complete Arab world, you see, the Chinese drones are there. So Chinese systems are good. But yes, we have, I'll not say we have systems like S-400, of course, will not fire on the small drones. But then other systems, MRSAM that you call about, that Barak and all that. Then the guns itself. So even the drones which come in the range of a particular weapon system will fire. And yes, we will take on Chinese. We have taken in the 9.
So this one question is from Anusuya. She says that the Russian S-400 have been very significant during Sindoor. What are some other military equipment weapons where we could see a possible collaboration or a co-production between India and Russia?
Russia has been our defense partner as far as the AD is concerned right from 1960s. As I mentioned to you, all systems, almost most of the systems that we have even today, that I'll say starting from, say, Shilka, we have Tungushka, we have VSHORAD, that Igla that you call it, then Osaka, all those systems came from Russia. So we have a very strong with them. And now that with Atmanirbhar Bharat, now we are trying to make most of the things inside. But my hunch is that once the things stabilize, we will like to, say, co-op or say coordinate or do some joint production with the Russians. I mentioned to you, they have a very strong technology, that HPM technology, high power microwave, lasers.
Yes.
They all have developed much ahead. So why not this thing? With even although we are developing VSHORAD, that shoulder fired missiles and all that.
Yes,
Russians
even the TWs, they
are now developing Barba and ahead. So why not coordinate with them? They have technology and they have been very forthcoming. So I think we should bank on them to cooperate and give us the systems.
One last question. Akash Thadani, he wants to know, Sindoor is an operation in motion without an end date. It has sub-ops like Mahadev and Shakti and more. Do the enemies comprehend what they are faced up against? General Bhadauria?
Yes.
Uh, Ma'am, I think they are yet to comprehend what strategy we have rolled out. I was hearing few podcasts because Pakistani podcasts are banned. So whatever we can, actually they are a little worried as to how will this happen, because anyone can create problem and then India would be free to act against them. That is one. The second is, which I always believe, that there is some kind of a strategy which we are rolled out. And look at the defense budget of Pakistan. This year the defense budget went up by 20%, right? Their development budget went down by the same number, right? So what is Pakistan becoming? They're spending more on things which actually they don't need. Right now, they should be spending money on development, on education, on health, taking out the people who are drowning in the floods that are coming, taking care of the agricultural needs, because they are a water stressed country. Their agriculture is suffering. So that is where the money should be going. However, they are being forced, if I can say that, to spend money on the military, which suits their military. Right? Military is very happy when something happens like this, because then they take a lot of money. And look at what happened to Soviet Russia. They were spending much more on military than what they could afford, and they disintegrated. One fine morning, there was no Soviet Russia, right? So is Pakistan moving on the same track? I really don't know, right? But it's a very dangerous this thing, that the amount of money that they are spending on their military, and they are taking the excuse of whatever we have announced, that this operation is not stopped or whatever.
Yes. Absolutely. Their GDP is also, if you see, it's in bad shape. So pooling so much money, but they have
So
always been doing that. The military has always been
let
taking
me
money
just give you a little
by their
cautionary.
debt and all those things.
Don't take them lightly. As far as the air defense is concerned, I mentioned initially only, they have been very adventurous. They are very innovative because for them it's an existential threat. So, and now today in 2025, the way Chinese technology is available, the there's no difference between civil technology and military. Earlier, you used to have a military technology getting developed, and then we should pass it on to the civil. But today, it's all available. And like he said, that GDP, they have increased like hell. So we should keep looking at them as to what all kinds of innovation they are doing, what all we should brainstorm and keep looking at them. Because
Uh,
I don't think we can just wish away. No, they will not of any consequence to us. They are
there's one,
focusing. Yeah.
considering that, there's one last question. Do we think that our academia in defense technologies is good enough as compared to our peers? We need to have more openings as far as technology is concerned. But I think we are doing very well, because as far as STEM is concerned, we are next only, I think, to US. After US, China, we are the largest in STEM. So I don't think this, your comment, what you feel like.
The best of talent went to Silicon Valley. If you look at the Ukraine again, from the Ukraine side, all those young boys from the Silicon Valley have landed up there. And they have created that kind of technology for them to fight with a superpower called Russia. So US always had that advantage of getting the talent and the freedom to do things there. That Elon Musk and that kind of people who have created everything. The best of today, Anduril, that counter, say, AD technology, that company, is just about 7, 8 years old. And the guy is doing wonders there. So we are moving, but our movements are slow because of many reasons, And today, technology is a function of time. If you delay things beyond a particular it loses its value. So we have to move very fast. Technologies are available, but matching with that efforts are being made on the ground. I mean, those structures that we have to make them little more agile and listen. So
Yeah. So, General Bhadauria, one last question. Yeah, but I wanted to ask you: do you think we have enough ecosystem available to get the people back to our country?
That is little we are creating, but I don't think we have succeeded too much. Now, on the defense technologies, what I wish to say is, firstly, we should develop dual use technologies, right?
Yes.
Because we are a developing country. The technologies that we develop should be used more profitably for our development purposes, right? Not just defense. So therefore, we should have dual use technologies. That is what we should be investing in, and also civil military fusion. So therefore, our emphasis should be on our national development, adding to our comprehensive national power, our economy, and the same thing can then be used for our military. Not giving preference first to the defense technologies and leaving out the other technologies for our development purposes.
With this, we come to the end of our program because it's going to be 8 o'clock. And I would like to thank General Bhadauria and General Singh for this podcast. And to our viewers, we had so many questions today. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to General AP Singh for joining us today. Thank you very much.